Oh. Good morning.
Morning.
I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmaster Club 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. With that said, please help me welcome our Toastmaster of this morning, Jorge F.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Morning. Today we have a couple of changes to the agenda here in front of you. So Julia is going to be helping us out today and jumping in as all counter, and Alexandra is also going to be pulling double duty today, being timer along with Sergeant of Arms. And Mike is not here yet. I don't think anybody else doesn't have a role, so I will evaluate you. If you give me your book, whatever you're done. I'll evaluate you. Yeah. So welcome. Today's theme is storage, which seems like an odd theme for a Toastmasters meeting. It's an odd theme for a Toastmasters meeting because it's actually the last topic I was talking to somebody about before I had to print these out. So that was the theme of the meeting today. We were talking about how, a buddy of mine was actually, this is more digital storage. So we have all sorts of storage needs. Of course, there's the regular storage. You need a storage locker. You're moving. You have too much junk. Maybe you're a hoarder, or maybe you need to clean your house out and you want to hide your hoarding tendency, so you hoard in a storage locker instead. But there's all sorts of needs for storage. But more recently, people don't really think about storage, but storage more in the digital sense, digital storage. My coworker of mine was complaining because his wife filled up almost a terabyte of pictures on his hard drive, and now he had to buy a new hard drive for his wife. Or so just think about all the different needs you have for storage in your life, whether it be digitally or physically. And since we do have a packed agenda today, it's nice that that's such a silly topic because I don't have to spend so much time on it because we have so many other things to do today. So I'm going to start out by having our technical table introduce themselves and their roles today. So we're going to start out with our grammarian for today, our club president, Erica Benfield.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The role of the grammarian is to select the word of the day, and the word of the day was selected for me. The word of the day today is dynamic. Constant change, activity, or progress, a lot of energy. So I'm looking forward to having a dynamic meeting this morning. I get to use it first. The purpose of the grammarian is to build members' vocabularies. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. Other members may gently rap the table when they hear a member use the word. I will also be looking out for improper use of the English language. Those of you who fail to use the word of the day will be charged 25 cents. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Next up, we have our odd counter, Julia Kaufman.
Dynamic warm welcome. I appreciate it. And your all counter this morning, I will be listening for all those double clutch words, the ahs, the ums, and you knows. That's my daughter that say, you like mom, like this, like whatever. So I will give a report, and so like that. I gave a great example. I'll give a report at the end of the day. Thank you.
And then for our timer today, we have Alexander Baldwin.
Thank you. Timing could be very dynamic. My function is to time the speakers, evaluators, and table topics participants to ensure they meet the timing requirements. I will demonstrate the timing lights or cards, which will display as follows. Speakers, green when it's 5 minutes, yellow when it's 6 minutes, and red 7 minutes. Table topics, green 1 minute, yellow 1.5 minutes, and I will show the red card when you are at 2 minutes. Evaluators, last and not least, 2 minutes you will be showing the green card. I will be showing the green card. 2.5, it will be the yellow, and the last one will be, if you are 3 minutes or more, it will be red, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a dynamic group of speeches this morning, ranging from preparation to leadership to we're actually going to have a concert also this morning. So a wide range of different speeches we're going to hear this morning. We're going to dive right into our first speech, which is Diane Manikowski. I'll read the intro.
That's preparation.
I didn't have it. Thank you, though. How many of us go through our daily lives never thinking that something devastating, even catastrophic, could happen at a moment's notice? And what if it did? Are you and your family prepared to survive Doomsday? Or would you lose the battle like most of the planet? Today's speaker will ask you some serious questions to make you think and give you a primer course on how you could be more prepared if the unimaginable happens. Please welcome Toastmaster Diane Manikowski as she presents Would You Survive a Doomsday Prepper Primer?
You ever wondered what would happen if tomorrow morning you woke up and everything was different in this world? You needed to get out of your house in 5 minutes with everything that you would need to survive for a year, for a month, for a day, forever. Are you prepared? If you woke up and there was a flood, a hurricane, an earthquake, nuclear war, an asteroid hits the earth, pretty much anything can happen. All right? There are people that are thinking, though, what if there were terrorists and they were coming? What if there was a nuclear explosion? What if chemicals were released? Isn't that what you prepare for? In the military you prepare for anything to happen. If tomorrow you woke up and you had to leave your house, do you have everything that you need to get out of there and be able to survive and take your family with you and for your family to survive? And if you ask these questions, do I know what I take? Am I ready? Am I prepared? And you don't have the answers, get them. Get the answers. Because if you ask a lot of questions and you don't know the answers, your chances of survival are nil. If you get the answers to the questions, you can go online, you can ask yourself the questions, what would I do? What would I take? Where would I go? How, do I have things prepared? How will I prepare? What will I do to survive that will give me the edge over everybody else? And if you have the answers to the question, you go to the computer, it's everywhere. All you have to do is turn on the computer, turn on your phone, ask a question, get some research, and stuff it in your mind. And then if you have to leave tomorrow because your house is demolished in a flood, and there is devastation everywhere for miles and miles, and there's no gas, and the banks are destroyed, there's money doesn't count, there's no gas, there's no electrical grid, your food is melting, and you have nothing. Are you ready to do something about it? Well, the first thing you want to take with you is your first backpack. You want to take a backpack that you stuff with everything and you overfill it and you keep filling it up, and guess what? It doesn't get any heavier. It always goes with you, And it always is easily accessible, and that's right up here, your mind. And when you go and you get your knowledge and you have your questions answered, then you can prepare. You make your preparation, you decide, hey, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to respond, this is what I'm going to take. Now, Doomsday preppers have already done this, and I know some of them go really far, and I'm not really like that, but I have a lot of skills. If something happened, I know I'm going to survive, even if I don't have anything with me. Prepper backpacks, they tell you to take a bug-out bag, have a bug-out location, somewhere where you go, something that you take, so you have everything on you so that you can survive at least for 90 days. Do you have it? Do you know what to put in the backpack? I have a handout that will go out to you later, not now, because I want you to listen to me. And there's lists of it, of what you can take, but you need things like your documents, your personal toiletries. You need first aid, you need clothing, you need rope and tool and weapons. You need a gun. You do. I'm telling you, you need to protect yourself. Because when you get out there, there might be a lot of people, and they're going to try and take what you have. And you know, when there's some kind of a terrible tragedy, you look at it, you look on the news all the time. People get in fear and terror. They're starving. They're thirsty. They're sick. There's no government coming, okay? Nobody's coming to help you. You have to help yourself. What happens to people? They lose their humanity. And you have something, they want it, and they're going to get it. They're going to take it from you, and you have to protect yourself or you're going to die. Now, the first things you have to think about is, are you going to be one of the thousands of people that are sitting on the side of a freshwater lake, teeming with fish, lush edible vegetation all around you, and you're going to die because you're going to die of starvation because you don't have the tools to catch a fish, you don't know how to fashion a hook, you don't know how to tie some vines together to make a net and get some fish, you don't know how to identify the lush vegetation, the purslane that you're sitting on that's filled with omega-3 fatty acids. You're going to starve to death. You are going to die of thirst. Fresh water, microorganisms. You don't have the tools to filter out the water to get most of the microorganisms. And you know what? You don't have any matches. They're wet. Your lighter doesn't work. And can you make a fire so you can boil the microorganisms? Can you take 2 sticks and use friction and rub them together? Can you take a soda can and a piece of char cloth and start a fire? Do you know how to make char cloth? Do you even know what it is? Well, if you don't know those things, you need to know. When you get prepped and you get everything together and you decide you're going to survive, we have 4 things that we have to think about. We have to think about our food, our water, we have to think about our shelter, and our security. Do you have 2,200 calories a day of food stored for a year in your house? How many people here have canned food that will last them for a year? Dehydrated food, vegetables, rice, beans. How many people are ready? If something would happen, there's not going to be any stores, there's no computers, there's no phones, there's no money, and there's nothing in there. Everything's been looted. Do you have canned foods? Do you have, of course, this takes a lot of room up or whatever, but you can have that in your house, or even smaller cans. Even better, you want to eat peaches. You need the peaches, and you can't put 10 of these in your backpack, can you? But you can dehydrate it if you want. You could make, this is pineapple, but however, you can dehydrate it and it's lightweight and you take it with you, or even better, you can take the same amount of peaches here and you can dehydrate and make fruit leather, and you have nutrition, and it's in your backpack, and it's easy to do, and everybody can do it because I did it. Now I'm going to pass this around. This is pineapple, 1 whole pineapple that I dehydrated last week. And if you vacuum packed it, it would be about the size of my phone, and you could stick a lot of that in a backpack. You could store a lot of that. Now, do you have a resupply plan? Do you have a garden or an orchard? Do you have a hen house? Do you have knowledge of aquaponics or hydroponics? Do you have any kind of seeds that you can plant if the world goes to hell in a handbasket? Do Do you know how to can? Do you have storage facilities? Do you have a smokehouse? Do you have a freezer? Well, you might want to think about it. How many people here have 90 gallons of water for yourself right now? Raise your hand if you do. 90 gallons, you don't have the tap or the water coming in. Well, if you don't have 90 gallons of water, you're probably going to die. If you don't have a rain barrel or some kind of storage, there's no way to get it, you don't know how to do anything, you might die. So you might want to think about having a rain barrel with water, some kind of water containers, some way to resupply it, to create a pond, some type of resource, rain collection system, hand pumps to move water. On top of that, you may want to have good shelter. Do you have a remote location, someplace safe? Is your place fortified enough? Do you have power capability? There's not going to be an electrical grid. Do you have the knowledge to make solar or wind or hydropower? Do you have generators with lots of fuel? Because there's not going to be any gas, it's going to be gone. Do you have a wood-burning stove or basic tools and equipment to go out in the wild and just make a shelter? And security, of course, is the most important, because if you have all this stuff and you've prepared and somebody takes it all away from you, you're going to die. You have to have training. If you have military training or prepper classes, if you have weapons, even if you don't have a gun, if you know how to make a slingshot, you've got a weapon that you can use. Knives. Do you have perimeter deterrence or video monitoring? Do you have night vision or gear, different types of clothing, something to protect you from gas masks? Do you have a security network of people that are there to help you in times of trouble? Do you have medical supplies, a communication system? And finally, do you have the X factor? The X factor is anything, of course this backpack, anything that goes above and beyond. Do you have extra emergency equipment? Do you know how to identify edible or poisonous plants in the environment? Do you know how to, do you have stuff to barter with? Do you have a vehicle that's all-terrain that you can get away with? Do you have any of this stuff? Do you have any plans? Do you have any knowledge about how to get it? You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have billions of dollars to have an underground bunker. All you have to have is your brain, a little bit of knowledge. And when the time comes and you need to live and survive and take care of your family, you're going to be the one who's cool, calm, and collected. You're going to know what to do. It's going to be like muscle memory. When people have muscle memory and it just happens, you're going to have prepper memory. You're going to know what to do, how to react. You're going to respond. So learn to ask the questions, answer the questions, learn, do research, plan, prepare, and you can live. Thank you, Master Toastmaster.
1 minute for evaluations,
I'm
please.
over.
Oh,
Surprise. Oh, and here, I have something for everybody.
You're my
You're bringing it out, Diane.
I got
I have to leave your brain out.
Just anything you laughed afterward, just listen to.
Oh, man, I'm gonna go buy some canned goods today.
Most important thing is a gun and ammunition.
I have a machete I bought for
How
me.
much ammo, as much as you
I
can
have a machete and I just bought a, thank you. I bought a ATV side-by-side. It's great.
Oh, that's all right.
But that's only gonna take me so far if I need gas.
Spicy.
Bison. What if we flood? I think it was
Yeah.
Doomsday. I'm gonna be covered in water.
It's okay, I'll be right back.
get. Yeah.
I mean, my boat is good hiding.
Inflatable rocks.
Inflatable rocks. What's the time? There you go.
1 minute. All
Oh,
right.
what do you mean? Yes.
Going back to the theme of the meeting, think about all the storage space you have to have. You want to be a Doomsday drummer. So I know I'm reaching there, but I'm making connections. Our next speaker today, speaker number 2, is Gus Davies with his speech entitled Actions of a Wiser Leader. Speaker number 2 today, Gus Davies.
Which of
the world leaders will you consider to be a very wise leader in the years past or at present? Will it be George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela? Or maybe you have someone else of your choice who was a wise leader in the history of the nations. And what did that leader do that helped us to be able to see how he led his people and to be able to see how he changed things and the effect on us today? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, let me tell the story of a great wise leader who made an incredible, dynamic influence on his people. It is in the country of Israel or Palestine, whichever way you want to call it. He had come to the throne from his father David, and his name was Solomon. He was a king. He did not ask for a long life or for wealth or anything. He asked God to give him wisdom. But he got all three. He got wisdom, he got wealth, and he got long life. Wisdom is the insight to know good and evil when you have difficult problems. That is wisdom. One day in the courts in Jerusalem, everybody gathered there to see how their king was going to display his wisdom to his people. The courtroom was packed. There was great anticipation in the room. And in walked one of the attendants with a baby in his hand. And he came and he stood before the king. Following the attendant with the baby in his hand, two women walked up. And the deeds there respects to the king. The first lady, her name was Miriam. And Miriam stood before the king. He said, "King, this woman and I were engaged in an activity that has resulted," they were prostitutes, "that has resulted in us being pregnant and having a baby. I gave birth to my child," said Miriam, "and 3 days later, this woman also gave birth to a child. And king, one morning, I woke up to nurse my baby. And I looked, and the baby was still. My baby was dead. And I looked at the baby, and I realized this was my baby. I've lost my baby. But this was not my own child. I went over to the other bed and looked at the other child with this other woman, and that was my child. King, my child is alive. Her baby is dead." And the woman quickly said, "No, king, her baby is dead. This is my child." And they argued back and forth. And they were arguing, and there was commotion in the courtroom, and everybody was anticipating what the king is going to say. And the king gave the chance to the second woman. She stepped forward and said, "King, this is my baby, this is my baby, this is my baby." She just kept saying that over and over and over. "King, give me my baby. Her son, Michael, is dead. This is my son." The other lady's name was Basma. Her son was Butros. And she said, "Butros, this is Butros, this is my baby." The king got up from his throne, walked around, looked at Miriam, and looked at the baby she claimed whose name was Michael. He looked at Basma, and he also looked at the baby who Basma was claiming that the baby's name was Butros. Everybody. There was a silence. There was a calm in the room. Everybody is looking, what will this king say? The king who had been enthroned, who had asked God for wisdom, and he was given. The king stepped forward, and he called one of his gallant, dynamic soldiers, and he said, "Marcus, step forward." Marcus stepped forward and said, "Unwrap this baby." And Marcus took the blankets off the baby. And everybody's wondering, what is the king going to do? Which of these women is the king going to give this child to? And there was that silence in the room, everybody waiting and wondering. And then the king said to Marcus, the gallant soldier, and he said, Marcus, draw your sword. And he drew his sword. And the king said, each of these women, they need this baby in pieces. Cut the baby in two. And Marcus lifted his sword, and he was about to cut the baby in two, and Miriam just sprang over the baby and said, my child, my child. And Marcus could not cut through the woman, not through the baby. And there was a pause. And this other lady kept shouting, cut the baby, cut the baby, cut the baby. And there was Miriam weeping over this child. And the king looked at Baslam, and he looked at Miriam, and he looked at the baby. Then the king wrapped the blanket all over the baby. And he took the baby, and he looked at the people, those in the balcony, those on the courtyard floor, and he said, this baby belongs to Miriam, and gave the baby to Miriam. And this baby was Michael. And at the same time, this other woman was just saying, give my baby, that is my baby. And once Miriam got custody of the baby, she was escorted out of the room. And you could hear the cheers from everybody in the balcony. Wise man, wise man, wise man, wise king. And the king turned over to Baslam, and he told all the soldiers who went attendant, take this woman away and give her the punishment that she deserves. Solomon was one of the wisest kings that ever lived. He ruled in this land of Palestine from 790 to 731 BC, 39 years. He ruled his people. Every Jewish, Muslim, Christians know the record of the wisdom of this man. Wisdom, insights to know right and wrong in difficult situations. You can read about the story of this great king, Solomon, in 1 Kings chapter 3, and also in many Jewish records. But it is also said that this judgment, this wisdom that King Solomon displayed is one of the first recorded and published legal judgments that was made in the history. Many people who go to law school, they read that and they're also able, what kind of leader will I be? Or who will be a great leader that I will one day remember and say, this person in the history of the world made a wise decision. It's the Toastmaster.
1 minute for evaluations, please.
One minute.
Thank you. Our next speaker today is going to be Kerri Bird, whose speech is not titled Actions of a Wiser Leader, but How to Play the Violin. And after her speech, instead of going right into the 1-minute evaluation, she's going to play for us for a few minutes, and we can fill out our evaluations while she is playing for us. So yeah, it's very soothing music while you fill out your evaluations.
7 minutes? You need 7 minutes?
For the speech.
5
5 to 7 for the speech,
For the
and then when the speech is done, she's gonna
Okay.
play for us while we do the evaluation.
Okay.
And then a coffee.
So speaker number 3 today, Kerri Bird, How to Play the Violin.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I play the violin. I've played since I was 5. I've had this particular violin since I was 13. But what you need to play the violin, besides the violin itself, the bow, you also need a shoulder rest. The shoulder rest is necessary because as a kid, typically you would have a sponge and held onto the violin with a rubber band, but you need the shoulder rest because you need to be able to hold the violin with no hands. Because that's the only way that you can move your hand up and down to actually play. And then with the bow, what you need with the bow, first you need to tighten it. And you don't want to keep it tight when you put it away because it'll stretch the horsehairs. But you want to tighten it so that you can get a little bounce with that. You also need rosin. You have to rosin the bow. It makes it sticky so that it's easier to play and that it doesn't slide around on the actual strings. And in that case, these strings themselves, they're relatively expensive. The strings that I buy are about $80 for the set of 4. The E string is the least expensive. The G string is about $44 on its own. I do play with gut strings versus steel. That is just a personal preference. That's what I've always played on. But what I have for you with your pencils that I gave out, I'm going to show you how to hold the bow. With your pencils, with the eraser towards your pinky, using your right hand, put your thumb on the eraser, and put your thumb on the rubber band, and your pinky on the eraser. And your middle finger should rest right in front of the. Okay. Your thumb here, your pinky, and your middle finger should rest, and then kind of lean them all a little bit over. Yes, that's good. Yeah. So that's kind of how you hold the bow. Because you put your thumb here, your pinky. Your pinky holds the weight of the bow. Because the balance point is about right here. And that's so that this is where you get the loudest, because that's where you have the most pressure. But your pinky is the balance point for the bow itself. When I was a child, I used to have a piece of paper that had my feet outlined on it. And I used to bring to all my lessons, and this was rest position, and you just have to step forward, and that was the position to play. And I think I brought that piece of paper for a year to all of my lessons. So that was kind of an interesting thing, but it was part of the Suzuki method. It was part of the method that I learned so that you knew how to properly stand. The other thing you need is a tuning fork, of which I found out in orchestra 2 weeks ago. Our concertmaster, who's 25, did not know what a tuning fork was. Thoroughly disturbed me. Because as he came by and asked me, by the way, this tuning fork is older than he is, and he asked me, he's like, "Is that a tuning fork?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, do you just hit it on your knee?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Then can I see it?" I'm like, "Sure." And as he's walking away afterwards, he told me that there was an app for that. And I'm like, I really don't think that there's an app for actually tuning my violin. However, I was very disturbed and felt very old. So, basically, this is to tune the A string. You typically tune to a concert A in an orchestra, so you'll always tune to the A string, and then you tune all your other 3 strings to it. And basically, you just hit it and then play it, and you can hear the A. And then you tune to that, and then you tune the other strings. And I'm actually going to tune since I'm going to play for you. So. tuning your D, and then you'll tune G to the D, and you're also your E string. The tuners are here. You have a fine tuner for your E string because it's much smaller, and you don't need to turn it quite as much. And then the first piece I learned was Twinkle Twinkle, and that's what everybody learns because the first two notes are open strings. So there's no fingerings, you don't have to do anything with this hand when you start. And when I was little, I had my violin teacher would tune my violin, and then I had tape across my fingerboard up here so that I would know where to put my fingers, which I don't need anymore. However, if you look closely, I do have a couple little dots up here, and that's nail polish, and I can feel them when I'm playing, so I know where my fingers should be now that I'm older and don't really want tape on my violin. And we also learned with Twinkle Twinkle, we also learned the different rhythms. Because you had regular Twinkle Twinkle, and then with that melody, you played Mississippi, Mississippi. So you learned 16th notes, and you had Mississippi Hot Dog. You had My Name Is, which was, and then there was Grasshopper, Grasshopper. And that's how you learned all the different rhythms. And you learned it on the same piece of music because you knew all of that and all of the fingerings. And that is pretty much how you play. And I'll play for you now a little bit, but I'm going to shorten it. I'm only going to play the second half of the piece, but I need to finish tuning.
Waiting for Kerri to break out the violin for a very long time, so thank you very much. Next up, we have time? We have a little bit of time. We have time for one or two questions. Next up is going to be table topics. I think this will be very good for the guests to see how table topics works today. So, our table topic master for today is Julia Kaufman, who will explain to you what table topics is, and then the lucky. Be prepared, everybody is up for a free game today because everybody has roles to be picked on, so watch out. Except for the evaluator, except Stephany, I guess. Table topic master for today, Julia Kaufman.
Thank you so much, Kerri, that was awesome. Our topic today is storage. How appropriate with Diane's topic about how will you survive. I don't know all the guest names. Danielle, would you be up for a question? So let me tell you first off, though, about table topics, is it gives us an opportunity to speak off the cuff. You usually causes everyone, when the topics start, is to start sweating and clammy and all of that. It's great, and it's a great exercise. You always have an opportunity to work in a comfortable environment on those off-the-cuff questions. What are your storage techniques, and would you be prepared from a survival mode to store all the items you need if in fact there's a catastrophe?
Good morning, everyone. Well, I would have to say that I would definitely not be prepared for a catastrophe. My storage techniques consist of throwing things in drawers. Things that are organized are my shirts. They are hung on hangers. It looks nice. But that would be, I don't have a gun, unfortunately, or a knife. I don't know how to make a fire, and I definitely don't have 90 gallons of water to, survive off of. But hopefully I will look up how to survive a catastrophe if it happens, and yeah, thank you.
For that topic, I just noticed I did a tongue click. There's a lot of it too, doing double duty. We have in our midst of Toastmasters a person whose career is organizing. Ernst, tell me, are you a pack rat? Do you need help?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster. Am I a pack rat? Absolutely not. But I'm also totally unorganized. I am the one who likes to stack things up, and then once there's a time in my life, maybe in a year or whatever, I'll take the bottom and throw it away, which I actually did last night, and I threw away some road atlases from Orlando and Orange County. And I said, what do I need these things? They've been sitting there for about a year and a half, no, 10 years. Because nowadays, you don't need them anymore. You have your GPS system, you have your iPhone. So, no, I'm not, but I've seen people who had the illnesses of being pack rats or hoarders, and it's a tremendous illness. Luckily, I'm not, although I'm disorganized. And this morning, I'm not very dynamic either.
Way to get that in. Thank you. Last question. As a mother, a business owner, how in the world do you keep yourself organized in a storage capacity? Erica.
Thank you, Julia, for the question. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. How do I stay organized with as many hats as I have? I use this device quite a bit. Everything has an alarm, everything is written. I have a Monday meeting, I have my things to do, a running things to do list. How do I keep the kids organized? Well, thanks to Susanna, when I first moved, I was traumatized because of the lack of storage. So every drawer is P-touched on the inside. Everything has a label. There's a color-coded chart on my refrigerator on whose day it is to do laundry, whose day it is to do trash, so that the responsibility is not on me should something go wrong. That doesn't mean that it's implemented, that just means that there's a system in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Moving on to our educational segment of the meeting today, I would like to welcome up our Master Evaluator, Mr. Ernst.
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members, and honored guests. As the general evaluator, I'm very sorry, I'm still on Alaska
time.
Plus I got a cold. And talk about living off the land, that's where you need to go to learn to live off the land, because many people are in fact still living off the land in the areas, and if you can clear 5 miles of area in Alaska in the bush, the state gives you 55 acres. The state gives you 50 more. So if you want to live out there, that's a great place to go. But anyways, The master evaluator evaluates the meeting in general for the opening to the conclusion of the evaluation section. The purpose is to evaluate thoroughly the flow of the meeting. This helps to give meeting participant, members, and guests constructive feedback for areas the club is achieving, as well as areas of improvements needed. So I'm calling now on the speech evaluator for speech number 1, Mike Hughes, evaluating.
Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and my person, Diane. Love your topic. Absolutely love it. The only hard part is, it's controversial as all get out. Having lived this stuff, I find it absolutely amazing because of how the mind works. Do you, on one section, prepare for what could happen? Because you contradicted yourself a few times, I noticed. Prepare, plan, pack your stuff, do everything. But if you gotta drop all your stuff and run away, what good are you? What, all this stuff's back here. Can you get back to it? Did the natural disaster hit that, or whatever the catastrophe happened? Love the examples, but I wanted better ones. Show me this, what it would look like in a backpack. Show a bug-out bag, neatly organized. So if you have to grab it and go, because well, as you all know, I was in the military, we had bug-out bags in our vehicles. Had the vehicle gotten hit, lost a tire, whatever the case, you grab it and go, because it has so much ammunition, so much of this. So have a bug-out bag prepared. Show the example of what it looks like, what it entails. My other favorite was the finite versus renewable resources. That gets everybody. Well, if all my stuff's packed right here, I have my water filter, I have my 90 gallons of it. Great. I just ran away because somebody overtook my house. What do you have? Do you understand how to do that? Did you explain clearly what would be an effective water purification technique? Where could I procure these resources? One thing to understand, where you can find it, and if, what's that TV show out right now? The Walking Dead. How are they going to mow the lawn when everyone's been, dead for over 2 years? But yet that lawn's still mowed. No, there was a few contradictions, but that's fine. The biggest thing is you have to open your mind and think about what's going on, why you're doing what you're doing, and can you plan for that? Can you prepare? And what happens when you lose everything? Well, you got to have your 4-wheel drive, but if there's no fuel and there's no power, how can you pump the fuel in there? Do you know how to pump? Do you know how to work a siphon? Some people don't. But I did love your examples. The food is melting. I was wondering about that one. Does food really melt? You said the food is melting. And he was like, well, I got to keep it in a refrigerator. Well, if there's no power, okay, then we're going to go back to the gas, and then now we're back over here. Is there an ultimate survival weapon? Well, how'd the cavemen do it? How did the caveman do it? Did he have a gun? Well, no. He did? Could you fabricate a bow, and a string, an arrow, something you project, or a rock, a sling, much like something thousands of years ago, David and Goliath, which isn't far from Solomon, if I'm not mistaken. Can you utilize that? And if you use these examples, create it. Show something made from essentially nothing, or from the actual nature. I loved your talk. Outstanding, great enthusiasm. Stick with it. You'll be prepared. Okay.
Thank you very much. And evaluating speech number 2, guest Davis, is Stephen Morris.
Actions of a wiser leader. Or you could put it, stories by a modern bard. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, particularly Gus, giving us the apocryphal story of splitting the baby. This was a very interesting way to be telling it, and it was entertaining and fun to watch and listen to. It was very helpful that you, at the very beginning, gave us the definition of wisdom you were going for, the insight to know good and evil when you have a difficult problem. One of the questions that I had in the manual to answer was if I got greater insight into the historical than a person. And in this particular case, having heard the story or known about it for a long time, I don't know if there was anything more in the ways of insight, but it was certainly a great way to hear about it and think about it again. Now, it's very clear your vocal variety is way up.
Yes.
The dynamics in volume, in pitch, in pace, all were supremely well done. From crying over my baby versus calling the soldier in, versus the point where you said silence, and got very quiet. And then the very stern voice when said, take the woman away. Although there is one where I'd say you went backwards. Because when you started saying there were cheers from the balcony, it was there were cheers from the balcony. Give us the cheers from the balcony! That's when you're supposed to give us that exact imagery. The one part about this that I was looking for and didn't quite catch was why the decision was wise. That was the part I was waiting for. Yes, the woman jumped over to protect the baby, and Solomon gave the baby to her and not the other, but the reasoning wasn't provided. And a big part of the story is why was the decision made the way it was? Why did he put them in the situation to make that choice? That was what was supposed to be wise about it. The outcome was what we expected, but I wanted that reasoning, since that is the moral we're supposed to get out of the story. But all told, me giving you advice on how to tell a story is completely backwards. This is your strength and has been your strength for a long time, this entire manual, which has been fun to listen to with the storytelling manual. This has been awesome, and I know this is very great for you. The best suggestion I can then give is start to stretch yourself, go in directions that you're not comfortable with, and where are you going to go to next. This would be great to take the skills you have and finally get up and do one of these contests, because you are most definitely one of the very good at doing these things. And the bigger the stage that you are on, I think the bigger your stories are going to get, and you'll be surprised, perhaps, at how well you will do. I won't be, and I expect to see you up there very soon.
Thank you.
And evaluating speaker number 3, Kerri was the speaker, is Stephany.
Thank you, Mr. Master Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Kerri. Finally!
Yeah.
Finally! Waited years for that. How to play the violin. A renewed interest in an old favorite instrument of mine. The manual says, how did the speaker make the talk relevant to the audience's interest? Well, music is always relevant. It's a good way to connect with nearly everyone. Personally, I love the violin. However, the piece that you demonstrated, it wasn't easy. That's not an easy piece. It's still one of my favorites. Was this appropriate, the demonstration? Very. It was relevant to the topic chosen. What Kerri did when she got up, she gave us the preparation before she played. She took us through a consequential, a sequence of events that you prepare your instrument, you get your rosin, you get your tuning done. She had an old tuning fork. I'm impressed. I really am impressed because I even know there's an app on the iPhone for that, also for the metronome that it's on there. And because I can't use a regular metronome anymore, I have to use the app. me of all people, right? She was poised and she was ready. She clearly loves that instrument, and she's had that one since she was 13. And it's over 100 years old. And the way she holds it, you can tell that she just loves it, and she loves her craft. What part of the demonstration could she have done a little better? Maybe with our little bows, giving us a little clearer instruction on which way our bow was going. And give us 2 and we can eat. You know? No notes. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. No notes. My very favorite part, of course, it was the mini concerto, and she was playing hyphens. I love it. Thank you so much, and don't let it be so long before we hear it again.
I'm now calling upon the technical table to and starting with the time, Alexandra, please.
Master Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. On the speakers, Diane, my understanding the speech was for 7 minutes. She went for 10 minutes and 9 seconds.
There you go.
Gus, your speech, I'm understanding it was 9 minutes maximum. You went for 8 minutes, 43 seconds. Kerri, I was kind of debating, yours was 7 plus 1 for the evaluation, right? So that's what, 8 minutes? She was 8 minutes, 3 seconds. Then we are going to go to the table topics. Danielle, she was 42 seconds. Ernst, 1 minute, 5 seconds. Erica, 46 seconds. And last but not least, the evaluators, Mike, you were 3 minutes, 26 seconds. Steven, sharp, 3 minutes. I don't know how he does it. Stephany, 2 minutes, 24 seconds. Thank you, Master Evaluator.
Julia Kaufman.
We earned some awes from Miss Kerri. You won today. You had an impromptu speech. I can understand how you did that with that. But you had 7 awes, 2 so's, 2 likes, 3 butts, 4 and 3 tongue clicks, and 1 pause. Alexandra, you had 3 uhs. Jorge, you had 2 ahs, I just didn't know, and so, Diane, 2 ahs, 1 so, 1 bite, and 1 double clutch, that was great. Ernst, 4 ahs. Mike, I didn't even rate you, I don't know what you did. Steve, you had 2 butts, 1 and. I'm nailing you on a very, in the very beginning, you used very, which surprised me because you don't do that. And I get 2 double clutches from you. Stephany, great, 1 ah, 1 and 1 ah. That is my report. Thank you.
Next, I'm calling on Marian Erica Benfield for her report.
We did make a little money today. I want to start by acknowledging those that use the word of the day, and if I missed you, please raise your hand because I have a hard time hearing. I had Julia, Jorge, Alex, Gus used it twice, Ernst, Steven, and did Stephany, did you?
No,
I think.
Gus,
I'll borrow it, Gus.
If you have a speaking role today and you're not a guest, please pay 25 cents. Improper use of the English language. I have one that I'm still researching, but Steven used the sentence, me giving you advice on how to tell a story is backwards. It hit home, however, I'm trying to figure out because me is an object pronoun and it can't function as the subject of a sentence.
It's not the subject of the sentence.
Right, it's like you can say me, myself, and Irene, so I...
No, it's a prepositional phrase.
Okay, so that was where I'm like, can you use me at the beginning? I think you can, because when I checked it on my app, it said it was fine. It was a grammar app. Okay, that's what I was doing on my phone. I also liked when Gus said, wisdom is insight to good and evil, and then at the end, in your closing, because you used it again, you said, wisdom, insight to know right and wrong. I thought that was great. This one is okay in the Urban Dictionary, Kerri, which is, that is pretty much how you play. Accepted by the Urban Dictionary, but I'm not sure. And then, and by the way, this is like amazing, but please tell me, this is in the grammarian's report, have a bug out bag prepared. So how does it bug out? prepared and somehow it needs to be
Bug
prepared.
out bag is a
So
proper.
it's like a freaking out term for something to be prepared. And then I had from Mike and Diane, food is melting. Still can't figure that one out, but thank you so much. That is my report.
As a general summary of the meeting, I like to say everything was set up on time. The meeting started on time. Thank you, Alexandra. This is all hanging up properly. The only thing I can suggest on the agenda items, we always used to put a title in there. I know Stephany is Distinguished Toastmaster, and TDM should be on here, and Stephen has a title as well. And I'm sorry, pardon?
If they know them, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not normally, it used to be on the agenda, but it's not. It's just a suggestion. I like to, I know we're not evaluating the evaluators, but everyone did an outstanding job in some of the very difficult subjects, Mike as well. Great job on the outward bound, which Diane spoke about. May I suggest, you need a gun, but you need much more than this food. You need ammo, because if you don't have any ammo,
That's right.
all this stuff is totally worthless. Right over here. And I now call on the Kerri Benefit to wrap up the meeting.
Floating around. There it is. I was right next to me. Let me grab that. What a fantastic meeting.
Yeah.
I'm going to Gander Mountain today, just so you know. I'd like to ask our guests, since it's 8:32, to briefly tell us what they thought of the meeting. Danielle, this is your second
My
time?
second reading,
Yep.
yes.
What did you think about our meeting?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was dynamic.
And then
Ready to sign up.
Mosen or Mosen? Mosen.
Well, this is the first time I'm attending this meeting, and I think everybody did well. The three speakers, they came across very dynamic. We covered that. Actually, you know, I don't have too much practice in public speaking, but you know, like.
Well, welcome to the club.
Literally. The reason why I came today is because I'm from Tanzania, East Africa, and back home people are very laid back and they're not as aggressive. And thank God, I'm a little more aggressive in sales, and I've done a lot of startup businesses. So, and just before I came, I did a lot of sales in Tanzania. So, I thought maybe if I wanted to go back in November, for 2 weeks straight, do a little more sales for the company that I still work for, and also motivate the younger people there, how to be more aggressive, and be successful in their endeavors. So that's the reason why I came here.
There's a lot you can learn, and there's a lot you can share, for sure. So thank you so much for coming. And then we have Habib.
Yeah, Patty. I thought the meeting was fantastic. Gus, I thought you were a really dynamic speaker.
Thank you.
And actually, the leader I thought of was Winston Churchill.
Good.
I thought it was a good dynamic. Yeah, so I came here to practice public speaking. I'm writing a book, and I'd like to harness my speaking skills so I can promote it and just be a, long term, I see myself as a speaker and things like that. Yeah.
Does that mean you're ready to join?
I am ready, yeah. I was ready before I came here, to be honest.
First, one thing, I'm Muslim, I practice Islamic religion, and in our religion, we respect the opposite gender very much, so I do not shake hands across the gender. So I just want to let everyone know that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then response to what you said, the initial reason that I joined was to help the debate team in Lake Marion High School, and my son is on the debate team. I got him set up with his first job interview, and because of all the insight and motivation that I was able to learn, he got the job. The first interview at the Marriott, he's Steward Andrew, he wants to be a chef.
Oh.
So there goes to show that there's things that you can learn and you can pass on to your kids. Even though you think you can do it, it can really help them. So with that, I want to go over very quickly because we're over on time. For next week, the 23rd, we have Toastmaster Gus Davies. Stephany is a speaker, Diane is a speaker, I'm missing a third speaker. Table topics.
Nicole.
General Evaluator Kerri, Table Topics Master Stephen, Evaluator 1 Paul, Ernst, and myself. I'll counter Mike Hughes. James Bishop is a grammarian. Timer was already Julia Kaufman. So you want to do it? You're good? Sure. Okay, fantastic. Any other comments today?
Oh,
raffle. Oh, let's have a guest draw.
We have $19.
Wow.
total, $9, or no, actually, it can be $9 pot to the winner.
Who did you
You're
hire?
just gonna shake
You
it.
hire for the 50-50.
All right, is that my number?
There's no number.
Bring it back. You lost your mind.
Took the wrong side.
Somebody didn't care.
Does somebody have a number on that?
No, this is fast.
That's
Yes.
all right, pick another one.
2300363.
363.
363. Who's got 363?
That's me.
Rick.
Oh,
Rick.
yes. And then 30 seconds, we have a contest this weekend.
Contest this weekend is for the area contest, speech and evaluation contest. Everybody who has volunteered to be a functionary, you must be there at 1:30. Cork and Olive in Lake Mary, right on the other side of Sun Drive. 2 o'clock is the competition. Good luck to all the contestants. And any contestants from here, I've sent you all a profile sheet via email. If you could fill that out ahead of time, it'll save a lot of time when you get to the contest. Okay, I hope everybody comes.
Fantastic meeting, that's a wrap.
Thank you.